Getting sauced Ryan's a lot louder, I would say.
I'll go with you, though.
Well, sorry, the light guy was my camera.
I'm smoking a cigarette. Is that okay for this?
Yes, you can.
All right, good.
Smoking is cool again.
Hey, this is Ray Rout from Revolution Radio. I'm here with Ashley Lindley from Getting Sauced, the podcast. And Getting Sauced, the podcast has had so many different versions and transitions, and it went from covering food trucks to barbecue playlists to podcasts to you never being a part of the scene unless you were doing all the work at food truck takeovers.
It's true.
To now being the co-host of Getting Sauced, the podcast. Can you talk a little bit about the current version that you guys are doing, and from your perspective, watching that transition as your co-host and husband Ryan Lindley has kind of been working through Getting Sauced, the podcast?
Absolutely. You know what? I think the most important thing about this is that every step we've taken with it, we've gotten a little happier with what we're doing every time. So it's like, okay, this is feeling good. You know, if it's feeling good, you gotta roll with it. And then things evolve sometimes, whether you want them to or not, and you roll with that. And then it's like, you know what, this feels even better than the last one. Like, look at us rolling along right now. So we're doing something that feels good. And you know what? Why stop, right? So we're gonna keep talking about tasty food, talking about ways to make your food at home better, things that you should be looking for out in the world, things you should maybe watch for at different restaurants, or weird buzzwords that people use that you can just kind of avoid. So it's like, it's informative, it's fun, there's a little bit of music mixed in, like it's all the things we love, right? Get to be a little bit pretentious about food, like, come on, that's Ryan's bag, so I'm here for it.
Okay, I want to play a game with you.
Let's go.
About food, okay? We're going to play a game called Who Has to Go? Tacos, burgers, gyros, pizza.
One of them has to go?
One of them has to go forever.
Oh my God, what are you doing to me? Okay, so right
it's like an
away.
F, Mary kill for
except
delicious food.
Except I have to kill all of them except for one, and that's just
pretty much.
I don't even get to the taco. I'm so upset.
And I have watched you guys transition from the Sheeple Shepherd podcast, which was very political heavy. Then the Sheeple Shepherd podcast briefly came back where you were doing very unique subjects. And I joined you on one where we were talking about, different psychological evaluations. And then it turned, and then Ryan got very heavy on another project. Mm-hmm. And then you guys came back with the Lens Report, which you were a collaborator on. And I was lucky enough to be a collaborator.
Absolutely.
And that lasted a very short period of time.
But we were the news. That was beautiful.
But that lasted a very short period of time, and then you went, and then Ryan said, he was going back to his roots of Getting Sauced, and then it transitioned into a podcast. Mm-hmm. Is this better for him? Is this where he should have been the whole time?
I think so. I really do. We have no issue coming up with topics. In fact, we have to kind of table stuff to put it over to the next show and the next show, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas for this right now. Whereas in the past, I'm not saying that we struggled to find content, but it might have been a little bit more forced, right? Whereas this is just like, whatever you want, it's yours. So I think that's the cool part, is that there isn't a box, and if there is, then we run the box. It's whatever we want.
So I always say that there's two different kinds of content creators out there. There's people who want to become content creators, and there's people who accidentally become content creators.
Okay.
Talk to me about Ryan, and not in a person, but talk to me about Ryan, and talk to me about the difference of Getting Sauced Ryan and everything else Ryan.
Getting Sauced Ryan's a lot louder, I would say. He's very in your face. He's very excited. Because Ryan's a pretty low-key guy on a regular basis with most things that he does, right? He's not the kind of person that gives out too many compliments. He doesn't get overly excited about things. He's just like the chill guy. When he's talking about food, and when he's not just talking about food, but when he's creating content surrounding food, it's all love. Like he already puts so much care into anything when he's cooking. When he creates content surrounding that, it's like his soul is in it, you know? So it's kind of brought him to life a little bit more, I think, than previous projects that we had.
Hey, this is Ray Rout from Revolution Radio, and I am here with the host of Getting Sauce, the podcast, Ryan Lindley. Ryan, tell us a little bit about Getting Sauce, the podcast, because it has really kind of evolved since its reintroduction. Talk about where it was, talk about where it is now, and what you're doing on Revolution Radio.
Where it was is not like, it's funny that you bring that up. There was no was. It was like social media, like pictures, bullshit. Like we would like write stories or recipes or come up with something fun, review other people's stuff. And it kind of grew on like Facebook groups, right? And then as time went on, that was prior to my Sheeple Shepherd days, the Lynn's Report, all that stuff, and my time at Prior. But I met Dean, we did our podcast and everything else, and it was like, I'm kind of tired of the political thing. I want to do just the food.
Wood boy. And so I started doing some reading.
I tend to lean a little liberal, so I understand the confusion.
I'd like to point out who the only person on the network that actually wrote like the biggest hit piece about him and that foundation was. He's on this panel right now.
I'm just trying to explain the confusion.
Was it called Justin Trudeau as a national embarrassment? I believe
That would be the one. Yeah,
I think that was me actually.
Yeah, it's still the top trending article on our website 5 years in. Just so no bigs. Just saying.
I like the guy. Never did.
I don't care if you're rocking an F. Trudeau flag on the back of your pickup truck. If you like my ribs, we're buds. You know what I mean? I'm going to teach you how to make some ribs. You can find common ground with everybody. And I think that's kind of where we need to get to. So, did I have the same? Absolutely not. Was I just being a, pompous ass and showing my cool food off on internet? Maybe. And that kind of evolved into Getting Sauced. We hooked up with our friends at Revolution Radio, and Revolution Radio gave us a nice spot to do a show. And I thought, what a better way to bring my wife back in, who is also an actual cook in an actual kitchen, to give us some airtime to talk about food and how much we love what we do. So
We were, so I was talking to Ashley prior to us talking to you, and one of the conversations that we were having was throughout your evolution as a content creator, right? Obviously, it starts with Getting Sauced, and then it goes to Sheeple Shepherd, and then you kind of start working on somebody else's podcast and doing things and a whole bunch of different media stuff. Then you bring back Getting Sauced, and she was always a supportive character and supportive player in that content.
100%.
Now you've brought her on as a co-host, so you've almost now she's in a co-star role. How have you seen that transition in her as a content creator?
I threw her in, and I get it. I threw her in, just saying you're now a co-host, and you're right. Like, she's got that mentality that I'm the podcast guy, she's the supporting role. She does all the, and she has forever. She's done the behind the scenes stuff. She's done all that stuff for us. Like, everything that we've ever done, Ashley's just always been our go-to, right? So, the fact that I know that she had so much more to offer in this role, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, she did all the research work on Sheeple Shepherd as well. I missed my wife as my co-host because we were so good. Like, we did so well on that show, but it was politically motivated, I guess, a little to an extent. It was that derivative, divisive content, I should say. I wanted to get away from. And this is just something that makes us both happy. There's nothing that we're actually angry about that we're talking about. Like, we're not hate writing a script, be like, yeah, screw these guys, we're gonna blah blah blah. We're doing something we both love to do, and I think it translates into the actual content where we're more relaxed, we're just having a good time. Even when there is something that's in the food world divisive, which is hilarious.
Like garlic?
Yeah, right? Like, yeah, right? Shout out producer Mike. Just stuff like that. It's way easier. And when we have a report, that's why we got married. and she makes the best co-host that I could ever ask for.
So I brought this up with Ashley, and I want to bring it up with you because there's two different kind of content creators, right? There are people who want to share and want to be content creators, and there's people who accidentally fall into content creation. And it doesn't matter which way you go. Like, one's not better than the other. That's not where I was going. I'm somebody who fell into content creation. I accidentally made a video. Like, I made a stupid video that accidentally
went viral.
Yeah, went viral, and
we've done that,
and became a thing.
Yeah.
Where and really, I put in no real effort into like, okay, I need to build this show, I need to build this. I just created content.
Okay.
You went the other way where you put in time into Sheeple Shepherd. You put in time into even the podcast that you were just helping with. You put in the time and the effort, and you put in that time into getting sauced.
Yeah.
However, one thing that I've noticed, and I feel like I've been lucky enough that, especially in the podcasting world, I got to know you very early into your podcasting career. And this is the happiest I've seen you from a content creator perspective.
It's not just the beer.
It's not just the beer. This is the happiest I've seen you. And you kind of just alluded to it in the question, but for the sake of this video, talk about how this is the authentic Ryan Lindley from a content creator standpoint, you know what I mean? Rather than trying to be that Sheeple Shepherd or the such and such podcast that you were working on, you know what I mean? And why this makes you so happy.
I'm going to answer your question with a question. I'm going to ask you, have you ever been an MC at a wedding? Has somebody asked you to MC their wedding?
No.
Okay. Has anybody ever asked you to host something that's outside of like your comfort zone? Like what?
Yeah, Revolution Radio once wanted me to do interviews with their talent so we could do a promotional video.
Oh, it's us. No, the reason why I'm asking is because when you can be yourself, when you are yourself, and it's a little different when it comes to the actual like food. Like if I'm doing like a food reel or something, obviously I'm very invested into how it's shot. But if it's just us yapping about food, it's like there's no microphones. We're just talking. You and I have had these conversations on the phone.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like where I'm talking to you and you're talking to me and we're talking about something that we both love, like when it comes to like something about food. The passion is natural. So when the passion is natural, the content creates itself. You get into a zone where like this, we've got cameras and lights and everything else for this. If we were just sitting here and you were asking me, Ryan, how do you make a brisket on a smoker? That would all melt away, and I would be laser focused on, okay, Ray, this is what you got to do. And I know that you need to find that marriage, that happy marriage between content creation, being aware of what you're doing, but also at the same time, if you're not authentic in your content, if you're being fake, if you're chasing an algorithm or a click, rather than actually like producing something that you love to do, your audience is going to see it, and you might get away with it for a little bit. Like you might, like I did it. I was fake AF when it came to the political shit that I was doing.
Not Canadian AF.
No,
fake AF.
Fake AF. When I was doing that stuff, and it was, yes, I was good at it. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying that to be a dickhead. I would do my research. I would come up with a great way to present it. I would come up with a counterpoint. You know, like I would do the homework to do it. But as soon as I would sit down and the mic was hot and it was like, hey, we're gonna throw to you for this part, I would feel my sphincter do this. The flop sweats would start. And I would get through it, and people are like, oh, that was a great point. It's like, oh, thank God. I was faking it so fucking hard to make sure that it was a good point. Thank God it translated that way. Doing that every day is exhausting. It's exhausting. So when you do content that you naturally just love to do, it's like there is no camera. Nobody's asking you to prepare anything. It should already be there. It's coming from like your gut. It's coming from your heart, right? So it's was that your question?
Yeah,
sorry.
You got it.
All right.
So
I'm really long-winded, so
No, you got it.
Revolution Radio has a cornucopia, I've used that word twice today, of talent and of content and of topic, whatever, you know, like it's the place. This is the future of content consumption, and I'm just glad to be on the ground floor to be a part of that.